Alright, cool. I think we are ready. Once I check my stats. Alright, looks good. Cool. Let's switch to... There we go. Okay, cool. We are picking up where we left off with Highway Blossoms. And first, we are going to read Marina's thoughts. So last stream, when I started, we didn't have new stuff to read of Marina's thoughts. But during last stream, we came across many things, particularly food, in which she had things to comment on. So we'll start by reading Marina's thoughts for items from the last stream, and then we'll get into the story. So here's a pamphlet we have, A Miner's Journey. Marina thinks, the book that started everything. It contains riddles with locations to all of the miner's hidden treasure. Without this, I would have never met Amber. That's kind of cute. Gold box. These are what the old miner hid his treasure in. We found a few of them along the way. Coloring pages. Okay, so growing up, I would always get super frustrated when I saw other kids coloring outside the lines. It's like, why can't you slow down and stay in the lines? It's not that hard. It'll look prettier. You'll be happier. It doesn't look right. Urgh. Anyway, I have a girlfriend. Yes, having a girlfriend helped dispel that frustration. Interesting, there's not a plus next to these, but the foods are also new. I'm not sure why there's not a plus next to them. But diner meal number 2, my favorite breakfast in the world. The pancakes were chocolate and had chocolate chips, and the chocolate milk was homemade. Can you tell that I like chocolate? Brochure. Arches National Park is so pretty. I wish we could have spent more time sightseeing than sitting in traffic. It's weird though, this brochure doesn't mention Chip Off the Old Block, so I'm not sure how Amber knew about it. Oh, totally forgot to mention, in the description to this video, I highly recommend you please check out, I found a link from Arch's website that shows Chip Off the Old Block, as well as other arches that used to exist and just between weathering over time have unfortunately crumbled and no longer exist. However, there are some arches that are actually bigger now than they used to be a few decades ago, and there are also pictures of that in the link in the description. I think it's really cool. I highly recommend that. This brochure just reminded me of that. Alright. Chicken tenders. These are what Tess was eating when we ran into her in Moab. There are so many of them. I bet that Mariah ordered a large size just so she can steal some. Steak. Mariah ate like an entire cow, and I'm pretty sure that still wasn't enough because I saw her picking at Tess's tendies too. Grilled cheese. Joe's meal of choice in Utah. Doesn't it remind you of him? A grilled cheese and tomato soup isn't the most exciting thing, but it's trusty and reliable. Sandwich. Not that there's anything wrong with these, but those fries would totally go better with the milkshake too. Alright, I think, to the best of my knowledge, we have now covered all of Mariah's thoughts thus far. Oh, we have one more here. And diner meal 3. Amber got this at the same place where I got the pancakes. She might make fun of me, but at least I didn't order half the menu. Alright, there we go. Now we can continue with our story. I just really wanted to get her thoughts before we continue. And let's continue now. Oh wait. Load game. Alrighty, so they had just found the treasure at Arches at Chip of the Old Block, which, again, there's a link in the description to then and now of that structure, among others. Even when the box is closed, this is, again, narrating for Amber, it radiates a heavy aura, one that's almost intimidating whenever I come near it. I place it in the drawer and seal it away, a sigh of relief following.
2 down, 1 to go.
Alright, so they're just putting away the box of gold that they had found at Arches.
Whoa, there's only one more piece left?
I think so. There's only some experts writing about historical relevance after the next entry.
Flopping down on the couch next to Marina, I take a sip of my coffee and flip to the final entry of the journey. Marina glosses over the page, a hazy look forming in her eyes as she soaks it in.
I can't believe it's almost over.
Yeah, it's weird that it hasn't even been that long.
The motorhome goes quiet, the buzz of the generator humming in the background.
Well, it's not over yet. We still gotta figure out where it is, and then there's still the search.
I think Marina's enthusiasm is becoming infectious. She simply nods, now just gazing into her lap.
Well, let's see what it says.
Oh boy, I get to do the miner's voice. I think I remember what I did for him. After several days of travel, I believe I have finally arrived at my first destination. It is well known I have an astute eye for locations. After all, this is how I found my precious bounty, so it is no mistake that I easily found the perfect hiding place within this valley. I arrived on horseback, at the blistering peak of noon. Looking for shelter from the coming night, I began noticing something different, something distinct. Crimson. All of it, shades lighter than pink and darker than blood. The color stained it all, from giant unmovable stones to the tiniest grains of sand. It was as if the land had absorbed the sun's heat and reflected it outwards. Even at sunset, the cave I settled in emanated a bright red glow that speckled out from its opening. That night, as I laid on the ground, watching the flames of my fire shoot up to the cave's roof, I wondered if there were more places like this in this unsettled land. During my travels on the trail, I was too preoccupied with preparations to observe the world around me. But now that I have achieved success, maybe I shall. It would be a shame if my superb observational skills went to waste. So humble. Oh God. I keep going on tangents because I love the Southwest. I've traveled the Southwest before, and I do want to emphasize, I have never seen any other place like the Southwest where there are parts of the desert that really have, blood red dirt, naturally occurring red dirt. And it's sounds creepy, blood red, but it's really beautiful though, like different shades of red. I've never seen any place of the world like it that just has this incredibly rich red colored dirt. So I understand this guy's enthusiasm. It's really pretty and really unique. Back to Amber. I was never certain about the other locations, and considering how many giant rocks, canyons, and arches are in this country, most of them are probably just a fluke. But this is unmistakable. The vivid and breathtaking imagery, the constant allusions to flames, and most importantly, the heat.
He hid it in the Valley of Fire.
Marina snaps back to attention, my conviction pulling her back from Marina land.
Are you sure?
Positive. There's no other place it could be.
Oh.
She might as well have shot down my momentum with an elephant gun.
Oh, that's all?
Yep.
No.
Ooh, what's that? A place always on fire?
She narrows her eyes to an unimpressed squint. If they could shoot lasers, they would be right now.
Amber, how dumb do you think I am?
I didn't say you were...
Always on fire, really?
Now I feel dumb for saying it.
Probably should.
To be fair, God, I'm such a geography nerd. There are parts of the world, very rare, but there are parts of the world where there is naturally occurring fire on the surface. If I'd known this was going to pop up in the story, because this is a cold read, I would have looked up the exact name. I was going to say Antalya. No, it's not Antalya. There's somewhere in Turkey. I've been there, and I'm blanking on the name because it's been many years. But there's a place in Turkey. I'm gonna Google it right now. There is naturally occurring gas fire vents on the surface of the valley. You're just walking around and there's kind of pockets of it, under rocks, you'll see fire coming out. It almost looks like a stove, really. But it's naturally occurring gas pockets in this valley that just burn constantly because there's gas underground. Let me look it up. Turkey... naturally occurring Gas Valley? Google, please know what I'm talking about. Man, okay, let me look up a better thing. So what's interesting, like early records of this valley, gosh darn it, what's it called? Turkey Fire Valley. So there are records of this valley from like easily a century back where it was described as like a hellscape. So presumably Yanartaz, I hope I'm pronouncing that more or less. It was Antalya. Oh my god, I second guessed myself. I was right. It's in Antalya, Turkey. It's a province in Turkey. It might be pronounced slightly differently in Turkish. Yanartaz is in the Olympos Valley of Antalya, the province. If you ever want to check out Olympus Valley with its naturally occurring fire. So underground there's naturally occurring gas. It escapes through these vents basically in the valley, and there's just constant fire, and it's easiest to see it at nighttime. But there are records of this valley from like centuries back describing it as a hellscape. So presumably there was a lot more gas and it's been burning off over time. Maybe it's still being produced, but at a slower rate. But back in the day, there was so much gas, like they were just like, according to these observations, like raging fires, but like still fires. They were like gas fires just being eternally fueled by the underground gas. But now they're like, I don't know, campfire size. Like, I swear when I visited this valley at nighttime, there were a couple of families roasting marshmallows on these gas vents. So now they're much more humble sized. But, so yes, here Amber is teasing Marina. Like, aren't you gonna ask me about the fire valley? It's not on fire. There are valleys on Earth that are on fire, so that wouldn't be too absurd to have assumed based on the name. Okay, let's get back to the story. And let's backtrack, because I went on such a tangent there with
Probably.
Turkey.
Now I feel dumb for saying it.
See, you don't need to feel dumb because this does exist. And other places on Earth.
Probably should.
Ouch. If her enthusiasm is infectious, then so is my unrelenting realism. It's corrupting her innocence.
By the way, what's the Valley of Fire?
Well, maybe not too infectious. Massaging my scalp, I shake my hair, hopefully creating enough new wrinkles in my brain that will help with explaining this.
Alright, so take a whole bunch of rock, sand, and dirt, okay?
Okay.
Now make most of it red.
My explanation is met with a vacant stare.
I swear, it's a lot cooler than I'm making it out to be. It's just kind of hard to explain without pictures.
Don't worry, I believe. Sounds awesome. Where is it anyway?
A little ways into Nevada.
Nevada?
Her knees bounce, jolting the table.
Are we even old enough to gamble?
There's more in Nevada than Vegas, dummy.
Still, isn't that pretty far?
That might work to our benefit. I'll need to check the map again, but I think we'll be passing by a place I want to check out.
Her voice brightens.
You actually want to go sightseeing?
Don't act so surprised. It's not like I was gonna make a straight shot for California before I picked you up. Besides, I think you might like it.
Though she does like virtually everything.
It's a place called Zion.
Yes! I love Zion! Oh my god, I'm just like geeking out about this novel because I've been to these places. Zion is relatively close to where there are other places with like fire red earth. So at first I thought they were going to Zion, but I guess they're passing it to Nevada, but they're passing Zion, which I've only ever been there for like one day. So my family likes going to national parks. And usually when we go, we spend like a week there, because if you're gonna travel that far, you might as well spend more time at the place than you're traveling. So we usually spend like a week at a park. But I was on this road trip, not with family, so yeah, I'm not really a fan of road trips, because most people who do road trips, they're like, all right, well, go here for one day, go here for another day, versus me and my family, we're like, we're spending a week here, we're just gonna chill here and relax. So unfortunately, the one time I did visit Zion was on a road trip so I only got to spend one day there, but it is a place I'd like to spend easily a week. It's just a really beautiful park.
It's a national park here in Utah. I hear it's a hell of a lot greener than the places we've been through. I know we're in a rush, so we won't stay very long.
She's going to burst from excitement, and I still can't resist messing with her. It's cute.
But I guess if you don't think we can afford the time...
I expect her to throw herself at me, hug me, squeeze me with all the energy and happiness she usually does it with. But she doesn't. Sitting perfectly still, Marina takes a single breath and gazes at me with a smile.
I've been surrounded by desert all my life. Seeing green for once would be nice.
Man, so much of the dialogue makes me think of tangents. I'm gonna go a little further before breaking off.
I'd love to go with you, Amber.
An unsettling hollowness expands in my chest as I realize I don't know how to deal with a serious Marina.
Oh. All right then.
She doesn't answer. Eyes now closed, arms folded in her lap, the empty, cooperative smile more forced than ever.
Well, there's still a lot of hours left in the day. I'm not sure if we'll make it in time to check into the campground, but we'll be close enough that we can do it in the morning if we leave now.
Marina nods. We scooch out of the booth and walk the 10 awkward steps to our seats. Strapping ourselves in, I switch on the ignition, the RV snorting into being. I reach for the cassette player, then look at Marina, already lost in her thoughts as she stares out the window. I don't have the heart. No. I don't have the courage to snap her out of it this time. Sighing, I bring my hand back without pressing play and pull the motorhome into drive. It's too bad, too. I think I'm really starting to like Marina's hugs. Hours and several cups of coffee later, we've arrived at our destination. Or at least close enough to easily check in the morning, yet hidden enough to not get towed. Marina looks to the window, but her eyes drift back over to me, then mine to hers. For one drawn-out second, our eyes are interlocked, petrified by the other's stare. Then, time continues. Our heads swing in the other direction, so fast it takes my mind a few moments to catch up. The side of her cheek I can still see is flushed. Glancing in the rearview mirror, I find mine are too. I grip the steering wheel, then cautiously, without turning my head, look back to Marina. She notices. Our eyes connect again. Blush, rinse, repeat. The past 4 hours have been excruciating, especially while fighting the urge to throw on music. I wanted to give Marina the space she needed to say what she has to. Or give myself the space to blurt out what I need to say. It was just... Again, Marina looks. I jump, we blush. Never the right time. Deciding I've had enough, I hop out of my seat and stretch. Marina follows. I grab my mug from the holder and drag myself across the scratchy carpet to the sink. A small jolt shocks my fingers as I reach for the faucet. The mug slips from my hand and crashes onto the counter, splashing coffee everywhere.
Crap. Let me help.
Marina springs over and reaches for a kitchen rag, but I swat down her hand and grab it just as she does.
Don't worry.
Now we're forced to look directly at each other, but there's no blushing this time. I nod and pull away the rag as her fingers slide down the fabric.
I got this.
She stares down at the counter, the spilled coffee trickling onto the floor with a steady drip.
Oh.
Without another word, she slouches back to the couch.
If you give me a sec, I can set up the bed.
The bed's metal frame slams down with a loud clank that vibrates underneath my feet, followed by the couch cushions swishing past me, landing on the other side of the motorhome.
For ya.
Damn it. Whatever. I'll deal with this in the morning. I toss the rag into the sink and head to my room. hesitating in front of the slider. Please don't let it end like this.
Amber.
There's a pause. Several times I hear small gasps like she's about to speak, but they all just melt into sighs.
Good night.
Night.
My hand balls into a fist, my fingernails clawing deep into my skin. I step into the room and shut the slider behind me, immediately throwing my face onto the pillow. I can feel my heart pounding as I roll onto my back. Lying there, twisting up in my sheet, it just keeps beating and beating, never settling down. Managing to lift myself up on my elbows, I look at the picture next to the slider. The one with the vinyl sleeve. I still remember how his hand felt against my head, from the bony joints of his fingers to how their calluses massaged my scalp. For such a breezy old man, it's amazing to think just how strong and confident his love was. I let my head fall back against the bed and rest my forearm over my face.
Oh man, what am I gonna do, Gramps?
A brisk wind curls around me as I step out onto a patch of dirt that can barely be called a parking spot, in a place that can barely be called a campground. Misty curtains have settled over the nearby hills and mountains, and small specks of leftover morning dew occasionally drip on me from above. Bending down, I drop my backpack and pull on the tongue of my sorta new hiking boots. A little big, but they'll work. Considering these came from the stash of supplies we borrowed from Mariah in New Mexico, her feet must be frickin' huge.
All set?
Marina is standing behind me, frowning at her own Velcro-strapped boots.
Just about. These boots are pretty big, though.
You think so? They feel a bit snug to me.
Sheesh, never mind about Mariah.
Hey, forget about the treasure. Let's just dress you up as Bigfoot and turn you in for a cash reward.
The joke is awful, and I know it. Still, Marina plays along, sticking her tongue out in a half-playful manner before she forces a tired smile. The whole time, she doesn't make eye contact. So much for lightening the mood. Last night's sudden tension is still present. Even though we try to ignore it or pretend it isn't there, we both know it. We both know. Ooh, I added a word, sorry. We both can't look at each other directly, and our conversation feels awkward and stilted. But we pretend everything's normal as we try to put on our best performance and reenact our usual routine.
So, how long is the hike?
The brochure said about 90 minutes each way. Might take even longer in this weather.
Oh,
I can feel the gulf between us. It's like yet another canyon, except I don't know how to cross this one.
the picture in the brochure was super pretty. Angel's Landing, right?
Now it's her turn to try and lighten the mood. I hate how we're both too afraid to just address the issue. But I'm just as guilty as she is here. I sigh and play along as best I can.
Yeah, it's nice. It's supposed to be the most scenic view in Zion.
That's what Gramps told me anyway. This hike was one of his favorites. Said the view is so lush, that there's so many trees and plants, that he discovered several new shades of green up there. It was one of the spots that he was most looking forward to visiting with me. I glanced back up at the mountains. The mist doesn't look like it will clear anytime soon. In fact, it seems to be swallowing up more of the landscape. It's got Marina's attention too. She stares up as if she's picking out specific details in the fog. While she's distracted, I let my gaze rove over her again, guiltily, like I'm sneaking glances, but I don't care. Admiring the sweep of her shoulders down into her collarbone and the rest of the curves of her body. I let myself examine her like I did when we first met, and like I've been consciously abstaining from. Looking her over like it doesn't matter. I'm not sure if that's a typo, but I'll read it. Looking her over like it doesn't matter if she catches me anymore. She doesn't, though. I may as well be invisible to her right now while she studies the mountaintops. And I want her to pay attention to me. She's wearing her usual boutique brand clothes. Their cute frilliness is just as perfect as ever for Marina, but they clash with the clunkiness of the ugly brown boots.
You sure you want to wear that? They might just get in the way.
She gasps, almost offended by the suggestion that she wear anything else.
But my skirt is so comfy. Aren't you supposed to wear comfy clothes on hikes? Besides, with a name like Angel's Landing, it has to be pretty relaxing.
She gives me a big, honest smile, tipping her head to the hills. It's the first real smile I've seen from her all day.
So, what are we waiting for? Let's go.
I melt, letting her skewed reasoning fall to the wayside just this once. Warm fuzzies and a goofy grin take over my dour mood, just for a moment.
All right, but no whining if they end up being a problem.
Slinging the backpack over my shoulder, we head for the shuttle that leads to the trail. Logs and a stone fire pit adorn the side of each lot that we pass. Maybe when we get back, we'll go to the camp store and pick up some supplies to roast marshmallows. I think she'd like that. Marina's heavy breathing guides me as we slog our way uphill, the previous light mist having now morphed into a thick and dreary fog. I cling to the I cling to the chained railing as I stumble my way up the trail of rocks. It's the only protection from the sheer drop-off beside us. All it would take is one slip for me to make a nosedive into the valley below, and I wouldn't even see it coming. Turns out, the fluffy and enticing name Angel's Landing doesn't come with the relaxing stroll Marina was hoping for. This feels more like a ghastly death march. My sweat-drenched legs feel like pudding under the anchor that is a measly 5-pound backpack. No one else on the shuttle even bothered to attempt the hike alongside us. I attempt to form words between pained breaths, feeling like a rock is being smashed into my lungs with each step.
We should turn back. Can't see Jack. It's not safe up here.
What?
She sounds like she's doing about as well as me, echoing the same lung-puncturing gasps.
But we're so close. There's no way we're not almost there.
We stop, collapsing against our knees as we try to catch our breath.
Not gonna mean a lot if we end up falling off a cliff.
I thought you were the one who wanted to do this so bad.
Every couple words are punctuated by her gasping for breath.
Yeah, but...
Amber, please, let's keep going.
Her voice is a whimper, fragile and meek. I fold.
Okay.
Marina has a way of making me shut up when she wants to, whether she knows it or not. Today, it doesn't make a difference. I'm not going to be the one who makes things worse. She's wrong about one thing, though. I wasn't the one who wanted to hike up here. Gramps was. It gets easier after our break. The trail begins to plateau, and the steepness evens out, fading behind us until the return trip.
I think we're already here. See? What did I tell you?
Marina darts ahead, disappearing into the fog so she can look at the mythical view that the brochure and I have preached to her, and Gramps to me. But if my suspicions are right, this weather and the view aren't going to be very compatible. Following behind, I step out of the cloudy murk and into an area that offers only slightly more visibility. Marina stands still on the center of the cliff, her hand clutching to her heart. What should have been a bird's eye view of Zion is nothing but a sea of fog. The lush greenery and full valleys are invisible. Only a few overgrown bushes and some rocky points peek out above the clouds. I was expecting it, but the sight itself really is numbing. The hollowness in my stomach, the one I've gotten so used to feeling, rears its head once again, only intensified by Marina's silence, an expression shrouded by her bangs as she tilts her head down.
Sorry.
Gently, she shakes her head.
Don't worry about it. It's not your fault. You tried to warn me.
Marina.
But I don't know what to say. I'm disappointed, too. There were a lot of places Gramps always talked about visiting. After we settle down and kick back for a few years. After I finish repairing the RV. After I get better. This place came up more than the others, though. Not just Zion, but the landing. Kept saying we were going to hike up there, have a picnic, maybe watch the sun come up. A slight smile comes to my face as I think about him trying to make that hike. I'd have liked to see the geezer try. While I'm not a big enough sap to try and make all of my and Gramps' plans happen now, it would have been nice to see the view. With Gramps, Marina, and everything that's happened over the past month, it just seemed fitting to make the trip. Angel's Landing. I glanced back to Marina, the hand that was clutched to her chest now stretched outwards, grasping at the empty air. A slight breeze blows through, ruffling her hair. She looks beautiful. She looks angelic. I didn't go to church much as a kid, but she looks like someone I'd see on a stained glass window, right next to a rendition of Calvary or Skull Hill. It's frustrating to have come this far for nothing. But is it because of the fog? Because of Gramps? Or because of Marina? My teeth grit, grinding against each other under what feels like an unimaginable weight.
Come on, let's go.
I turn around and begin down the slope. There's nothing else worth seeing up here. Marina doesn't follow. No spirited footsteps trailing behind me. No speeding bullet blazing ahead.
Marina, we're going.
It comes out with more bite than I intended, but I don't care. I just want to get out of here now. Marina is hesitant to answer, but eventually manages to spit it out, sounding more like a question than an actual statement.
I don't want to.
What?
I don't want to leave. Not yet, anyway.
Annoyed, I turn back to her for an explanation, only to be greeted by a pleading look instead.
I'm used to it by now. I know I am. But do you think we could wait a little longer? Just to see if the fog clears?
I don't know what it is. I respond with a blank stare. It's like she's not even talking to me.
Don't be stupid.
I start back down the hill, not bothering to wait for Marina this time.
It's past noon. If it hasn't cleared by now, then it's not going to anytime soon.
So much for not making things worse. I nudge the fire with the stick. It doesn't do any good, though, as the logs just tumble on top of each other, smothering the already pitiful flame. For a moment, our lot is only lit by the few remaining embers in the pit. Sighing, I grab the bottle of lighter fluid and squirt it onto the ashes. An artificial flame roars into existence, then peters to the size of a pathetic candle flicker just as quickly. I plunge the stick back into the fire and scrape cinders from the glowing wood, Eventually, a flame catches on a charred log and grows until the pit is blazing once again.
Aha! About damn time.
The joy is exclusive to me, however, as Marina stays silent, staring into the fire.
Want another s'more?
She bounces back to life.
Oh my god, yes, please.
She catches herself and switches back to broodiness.
I mean, sure, I guess.
I roll my eyes, but can't help smiling on the inside. No matter how hard she tries, she's still the same Marina she's always been. I grab a marshmallow and stick it on the end of a bent coat hanger before handing it to her. Without another word, she plops it into the fire. Meanwhile, my eyes are drawn to the neglected bag of hot dogs lying behind the chocolate and graham crackers, unopened and ignored. I bought them because I thought Marina would like the variety, but I should have known that she would only go after the marshmallows. She's been devouring them. She opened the bag when we left the store, and it was half empty by the time we got back to the campsite. She clung to the bag like a security blanket the whole way. It's a miracle there are even any left. Shrugging, I take one of the hot dogs out of the bag and impale it on my coat hanger, then put it in the fire next to Marina's. Even when we're this close to each other, there's still an air of tension. The one that's pervaded since we left Arches. Neither of us have addressed it, but the inevitability of the treasure, the thick uneasiness that hangs over us. It's suppressed, but it's definitely there. But it's gotten better since we left Angel's Landing. The snacks were a peace offering of sorts, I guess. Although I was pleasantly surprised that she sat so close to me, even with the 3 other logs around the the fire pit. I fix my gaze on the flames. The dog is slimy, oozing with condensation that drips and sizzles in the ashes.
Oh god, it's on fire! It's on fire! Fire! Fire!
Marina's coat hanger whooshes over me like a spastic comet, the marshmallow now a smoldering ball of inferno.
Here, give it to me.
But it's on fire, Amber! Fire!
I can see that. Just give it.
She panics, squirming as her precious marshmallow burns before her very eyes. Just the drama of this scene is really amusing. Marshmallows do catch flame really, really quickly. It's squirming as her precious marshmallow burns before her very eyes.
All right, just don't hurt yourself, please.
Frantically, she passes me the wire, biting her nails as I try to blow it out. Soon the fire clears. The marshmallow, once white and fluffy, is now black and charred.
Aw, now it's ruined.
It's no big deal. You can still eat it.
Preparing the s'more, I break apart the chocolate and cracker, then squish the marshmallow between them.
Ew, gross. But it's all black and stuff.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Honestly, I think I might prefer it burned.
That's so... ew.
She gives a nervous laugh.
Here, just try it.
Marina stares at the s'more and gulps.
Fine, but only because you asked.
Closing her eyes, she opens her mouth wide. Wide open. This time it's my turn to gulp. I shuffle back. Subtly trying to avoid eye contact, and once again failing, I pop the s'more into her mouth and let out a restful sigh. Like bubblegum, she munches on it in the corner of her mouth, intently trying to dissect the flavor in her own cute way.
So...
Her eyes grow wide in shock.
It's good.
Right? Doesn't it give it a nice smoky flavor?
Mm-hmm. It's a little bitter at first, but the marshmallow gets really crunchy. So good.
I told you so. You just gotta give these things a shot.
I can't believe I had my first s'more and found a way to make it better in the same day. I feel like that would take most people like a bajillion years to figure out. But it only took me one night because I got you, Amber.
Gobsmacked, dumbfounded. They're both stupid, fancy words, but I think they work when trying to figure out this thing sitting beside me.
Amber?
You're kidding me.
What?
Your first s'more?
Well, I've seen people eat them on TV and stuff before, but
You have never ever had a s'more in your entire life.
now that I think about it, I guess I haven't.
That confirms it.
Huh? Confirms what?
You're an alien. The government has just been keeping you hidden all this time. That's why I met you near Roswell. It's the only explanation.
I am not. If I were an alien, then why do I look human?
That's just a flesh suit. A disguise so you can blend in.
That's mean. You can't just buy these good looks at the costume store.
What's your sector ID? Is this your first time away from your home planet?
Amber, stop. It's not my fault.
Her face puffs out, and I have to resist the urge to poke and deflate it. If I don't quit, she may actually start pouting.
I'm sorry, I'll stop.
I'm tempted to squeeze one more joke out, but decide against it as I try to hold back the snicker under my breath.
I think I like you better when you're serious.
She crosses her arms, turning away as she closes both eyes to block me out. Then, with a grin, one eye open, we both burst out laughing. Since the hike, the fog has climbed down the hill, enveloping the campground. Even here, it's carved out a small pocket, the breezy chill surrounding us as we take in the warm glow of the fire. It feels nice.
But for real, I still can't believe this is your first time leaving home.
She settles down a bit and places her hands in her lap, teetering side to side as she looks to the sky, even though there's nothing to look at but mist.
Yeah, sometimes I have trouble believing it too. Since there's so many of us, I guess Mom and Dad could never afford to take us anywhere.
Okay, this seems like a decent place to go on a tangent. I mentioned earlier I was trying not to go on too many tangents one after the other, but I did suspect this might have been the reason. So it reminds me, okay, I'm gonna get water real quick, hold on. This does remind me that I have a lot of family that works in education, and for a while, one member in particular was a teacher at the time. Now they do other education stuff, but as a teacher, I think they spearheaded this trip. They convinced the school to every year have a camping trip. Actually, I think there are multiple trips. I think there's a camping trip, and then they would sometimes go on a one-day excursion, maybe leading into the weekend. But anyhow, they had camping trips too. And a lot of kids, so this was an inner city school, and a lot of kids had never left the city before. For a similar reason to Marina, they potentially came from a large family, but more importantly, the family just couldn't afford to really travel. A lot of these families were low income or just didn't really prioritize going into nature, leaving the city. So a lot of families, they just could not take their kids outside of the city. So then this family member spearheaded this camping trip and a couple excursions, I think, through the school. So they'd go camping for a week. And for many of these kids, I believe it was high school, these high schoolers had never been outside of the city before. This was their first experience leaving the city, being in a natural setting. And at the campground, there was a pretty small waterfall, which was pretty significant in that many of these kids had never seen a waterfall, let alone naturally occurring spring water, besides the river going through the city, which I feel is very different than a natural waterfall. So it's unfortunate. Some people either don't prioritize going into nature or just based on life circumstances physically cannot. But I'd like to think that there's potentially more of a push as people realize the importance of nature. I would hope that more schools across the country and even the world will try to prioritize getting kids out of the city, even if it's just a field trip. But anyhow, I suspected this might have been Marina's reason as well for having never left home before. So we'll pick up here. That's what I thought. If her family is as big as she says, it's not like they could have just packed up and traveled, like me and Gramps.
You said you have 9 brothers and sisters, right?
Yep, there's 9 of us, plus Mom and Dad, so 11 altogether.
Jesus.
Right? Everyone says our house is pretty big, but it's always been so cramped that I've never been able to tell. I've never even had my own room. I've always had to share one with some of my sisters. My older brother shared too, until one of them went off to college.
Is that the same brother whose car got torn apart by Mariah?
She laughs guiltily.
Yeah, he always called it his love wagon.
If that thing was a love wagon, then my motorhome is a love palace.
Ooh, that's a good name for it.
Don't even start.
Anyway, he said he wanted to get a new one when he got to Salt Lake City, so I don't think he'll be too angry.
Hold on, that's in Utah too. Why didn't you tell me? The detour would have been a pain in the ass. But if you wanted to visit him, I wouldn't have minded the extra miles. Not if it was for you.
Marina does a double take, and I realize I've given too much away.
You'd have to pay for gas though.
Marina blinks, then smiles. Crisis averted.
Nah, it's okay. I want to do this without my family's help. Besides, it's only a community college.
Your brother moved from New Mexico to Utah so he could attend a community college?
Uh-huh. He sends me a gift every month. Last month, it was a top hat. I put it right on top of the desk in my room.
She pauses for a moment.
Mine and my sister's room, I mean.
Your family sounds about as weird as you.
Really? Huh. Yeah, I guess we are.
She beams, wearing the title of weird like a badge of honor.
That's not a good thing. Actually, maybe it is.
I like it. Besides, Dad keeps us all in line. He's a defense lawyer, super straight-laced. You remind me of him, actually. He likes everything nice and orderly, which is bad for him because he's surrounded by us, but...
She talks for a long time, chattering and laughing about her family, the smile never leaving her face. I almost get lost in it. I almost want to. For the precious minutes that she speaks, I forget the tension that's shadowed us since Arches, and could believe it was never there. I love that about Marina. Even when we're wet with rain, or humoring truck drivers, or racing a lunatic down the highway, she never hesitates to smile. For her, it's always poised on the brim, waiting to shine through. I could listen all night, but she trails off only a short time later.
I'm sorry. This must be boring, right?
Nah, I can tell you love him a lot. It was always just me and Gramps. So it's sorta interesting to see how other families work.
The lot falls silent, save for the crackling flames. I brace myself for what I know is coming.
Hey, Amber? What happened to your mom and dad?
I stare into the fire. It pops, casting up delicate embers that fall and vanish in the dirt.
I'm sorry. That was too personal.
No, it's fine. They're both around, I think. Only met Dad once a long time ago. Me and Ma don't get along very well. Haven't spoken to her since I was 16. Last I heard, she was living in some trailer park in Ohio.
Is that why you lived with your grandpa?
Sorta. Ma always had her issues. So the court said Gramps could take care of me when I was a baby.
I stifle a laugh.
Not that it did any good. The geezer had the bright idea to haul me around the Midwest and East Coast for half my life.
He took care of you all by himself? He must have been amazing.
Try again. He was an old hippie who was stuck in the 70s and spent most of his time listening to weird music.
Sounds just like you.
Hey, watch it. If anything, he was more like you. I was always cleaning up his messes, even as a little girl, even near the...
I choke down a growing lump in my throat.
Even near the end.
Amber,
It was always just the two of us, though. Us, or any random old friend he wanted to see. Even when he decided to settle down in Colorado, it was just us. People would come and go, but it was always us. And I was there for all of it. I was there for every single appointment. I was there at the hospital, and I was there at the funeral. Ma didn't even bother to come to that, but I was there, and he was always there too.
You really miss him, huh?
My voice lowers to a whisper, raspy and dry.
Yeah.
Something slumps against my shoulder. Glancing down, I discover Marina's head resting against me.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Ah.
She looks up at me.
Want me to stop?
Nah, keep doing it.
Okay.
We should turn in soon. We have a big day ahead of us.
Yeah, maybe.
We sit in silence for a little while. Or maybe it's a long time. I can't tell. It's a nice silence, though. A comfortable one. Finally. The engine dies. I can still hear the power buzzing before it surges down, leaving us with the ambiance of the settling motorhome.
We're here.
Not a lot of cars here, huh?
Guess the rest of the world just hasn't caught up yet.
That won't last for long. Any day now, people will figure out it's here, and an army of would-be treasure hunters will be swarming this place, drooling at the chance to find gold. The last of the gold. There's a fluttering in my chest, and I tighten my grip on the wheel. It's the end of our adventure.
I bet our names have spread across the land and struck fear into the hearts of our rivals, giving them no other choice but to call it quits.
Yeah. Or maybe someone already came through and found the treasure.
What? Don't say something scary like that.
Still wrapped around the wheel, my clammy hands start shaking. Marina takes notice, looking over with sympathetic eyes.
Hey.
She takes her hand and gently places it on top of mine, giving it a reassuring squeeze. I let both fall into my lap. She's warm.
We're doing this together, okay?
The flutters tickle the inside of my chest until I can't help smiling.
Right. Let's do it.
Regretfully, I force out a nod and pull my hand out of Marina's. It feels wrong, like throwing away a precious gift. Reaching into the console, I retrieve the journal for what may be the last time. It's well-loved, a bent spine, wrinkled pages, and folded corners on the flimsy paper cover. Looking back, it's been getting roughed up since the moment we got it, ever since that weird station attendant let Marina have it for free way back at the Traveler's store. Hard to believe this cheap thing was the roadmap to something so valuable. Taking a deep breath, I skim over the final entry. I'm curious if this line is intended to have a double meaning. The something so valuable. Like, yeah, sure, the gold's more valuable than the roadmap. But having just talked so highly of Marina, I suspect there's a double meaning here. Taking a deep breath, I skim over the final entry. Oh yeah, I get to do my miner's voice again. After several days of travel, I believe I have finally arrived at my first destination. It is well known I have an astute eye for locations. After all, this is how I found my precious bounty, so it is no mistake that I easily found the perfect hiding place within this valley. I arrived on horseback at the blistering peak of noon, looking for shelter from the coming night. I began noticing something different, something distinct. Crimson, all of it, shades lighter than pink and darker than blood. The color stained it all, from giant unmovable stones to the tiniest grains of sand. It was as if the land had absorbed the sun's heat and reflected it outwards. Even at sunset, the cave I settled in emanated a bright red glow that speckled out from its opening. that night, as I laid on the ground watching the flames of my fire shoot up to the cave's roof, I wondered if there were more places like this out in this unsettled land. Even though there are people living on the land, it's not really unsettled. During my travels on the trail, I was too preoccupied with preparations to observe the world around me. But now that I have achieved success, maybe I shall. I find it so weird that early colonizers, pioneers, whatever, were like, nobody lives here. It's like, no, there's lots of people who live here. All right. It would be a shame if my superb observational skills went to waste.
Windstone Arch.
It's probably the vaguest entry so far, but I can feel it. It has to be there. I slap the journal shut and lay it to rest in the center console, right next to all the cassette tapes. Marina and I look at each other, now sharing the same piercing determination.
All right, let's get this show on the road.
Because of the lack of crowds, getting around is a lot easier than usual, allowing us to take in the scenery for once, instead of slogging through zombified hordes. Even though there's not many people around, it somehow feels fuller here. Everywhere we walk, we're surrounded by layered dunes and sandstones, towering over us, striped with faded reds and calico browns. Somehow, we do eventually manage to find the Windstone Arch. Unlike the arches back in Utah, it isn't big and majestic. It's not a giant upside-down horseshoe that lords over us as we look on in awe. It's not even an arch, as much as it is a cave, really. Just a jagged, overgrown rock with a few crevices big enough for a person to enter. Still, despite the fact that it doesn't compare to the size or grandeur of everything else we've seen together so far, and despite that it hardly took us any time at all to find it, it's still imposing. The longer I stare at it, the bigger it gets, like it's judging us. It isn't calling into question our abilities, or even if we can find it. It's gauging. I believe gauging is how you say that to us to see if we're ready. Are we? I look over to Marina. A small bulge forms in her throat before she swallows it back down. Is she? I return my gaze to the arch, asking the same questions over and over in my head. Am I? Finally, we look to each other. Marina readies the metal detector strapped to her back and gives me a nod, which I return. Even if we aren't ready, even if this is the worst mistake in my life, this is something both of us have to do. Our steps in sync, we march over the rocks and desert shrubs before crouching into the cavern. Sunlight squeezes into the cave, dyeing the rock columns neon red. Marina begins scanning with the metal detector, listening intently for a beep. The narrow space forces us to huddle together as we heave our way through the arch, repeatedly brushing against each other. At first it's accidental, but I find myself craving it more. To get closer, to feel her, to watch as her hair absorbs the brilliant glow of the cave. I'm deprived of all of that, though, as her metal detector vibrates in her hand, making a low rumble. She takes off the headphones and points to the wall.
There.
I avert my gaze and move past her, taking a knee as I slip the bag off my shoulder and pull out a mandrill pickaxe. Careful not to hit her, I start chiseling away at the rock. Soon, the crack in the wall grows and small pebbles and gravel start flying off. I reposition myself and block Marina from getting hit by any of it. The small portion of the wall crumbles away, and after a few more strikes, reveals a hollow space, just big enough to squeeze your hand into. This is gonna suck if some creepy thing's gone and made its home in there. Shuddering, I reach into the space and feel something square and wooden. With some budging, it comes free and easily slides out. A box. Its familiarity is expected, but it doesn't stop my heart from leaping any less, nor Marina's, who squeaks out a gasp.
Ready?
This time she barely nods, unsure of what to say, but like ripping off a bandage, I swing the lid open before she can give any real answer. Nuggets, a pile of them, filled from top to bottom, all mishappen and morphed. The sight isn't anything new, but this time it feels different. It's like for the first time, the reality has finally sunk in, and everything up until now has been a haze. We both just stare at it. An entire universe of thoughts race through my mind, yet it all comes up blank.
What now?
It's directed more towards myself than Marina, but it's the first thing I managed to spit out, and ultimately the most important. Marina doesn't answer at first, instead just tilting her head, trying to process the question, but finally she gives a simple smile.
I saw a sign for a trail on the way over here. Why don't we go hiking?
Hiking. I freeze for a second, then laugh under my breath. The more I think about the simplicity behind her words, the more I laugh, until I border on sounding like a hysterical madman.
Hiking? For real?
I keep laughing, struggling to keep it together, even after I start having trouble breathing. Poor Marina isn't in on the joke, though, and within a matter of seconds, her face goes from confusion to concern, then pouting.
I don't know why you're laughing. I was being serious, you know?
Settling down, I wipe a fake tear from my eye, an occasional chuckle still managing to break through.
No, I know you were.
Then what's so funny?
Nothing, just...
I finally regain complete composure and smile at her.
Yeah, sure. Let's go hiking. That sounds nice. Can you please keep to the signs?
I will. Stop being such a worrywart.
Marina skips through the sand, gleefully oblivious that her trail is a badly marked patch of dirt over the plains of the Mojave.
That's what you said last time. If you're not careful, we're gonna get lost. Again.
Aw, you didn't like those old cabins we found?
It gets old after the second time, Mare.
It kills daylight too. The sun has faded to orange and will soon sink out of view. There's no way we're getting back before dark. But hey, maybe that's not such a bad thing. We've already found the treasure, so spending some time with Marina is a nice reward.
So, about this fire wave thing. And yes, I know it's not an ocean of lava, smarty pants.
Damn, I must be running out of material.
I mean, it's so cool. Well, it's hot, I guess. But what is it?
What's the fire wave? It's a, windy thing that winds around rocks and stuff and looks like fire. At least, I think that's what it was.
Oh?
A devilish grin slinks onto Marina's face, and she attaches herself to me like Velcro, nudging my shoulders.
You don't know what it is either, do you?
What? Do so.
Her grin grows until I force myself to look away. She's not gonna get the satisfaction.
I've seen pictures.
Oh, you've seen pictures? What sort of pictures?
You know, the picture-y kind.
I can just feel her reveling in this. For the first time, she's got me playing right into her hands.
Oh, shut up.
I feel a slap against my wrist, then a tug. Looking down, I see Marina's bright dimples shining through her round cheeks.
Why don't we find out together?
I'm stunned. It's a position we've been in before, but it's supposed to be the other way around. I'm always pulling her. That's my job. But now it's her smooth fingers locked around my wrist, her fingernails grazing against my skin. The realization doesn't even have time to sink in before she propels herself forward, with me in tow.
Hey, wait! Hold on!
I kick up sand and grit as I'm practically dragged along by Marina, who meets my yelps with silence. Then she halts as quickly as she took off, leaving me to shoot forward and stumble to a stop.
You could at least warn me before ya...
I go silent. Marina does too. The fire wave. Swirling ribbons of red wrap around the hillside and stretch out to the horizon. The setting sun casts light and shadow across the ground and sky, shading it all with intense golds, pinks, and purples. As the sky dims, a shred of stray light passes over the shade and shines directly on us. Directly on Marina. She stares on, silent. I can feel every glint of emotion coming from her. Every breath taken away. Every raw feeling that builds up inside her, only to be choked back down. All of it. I glance between her and the scene stretched out before us. The pockets of sky with their deep, vivid colors are beautiful, but the choice is easy. I fixate on Marina. Her clear, sweet blue eyes. Her cute, round cheeks. Her lips as they quiver ever so slightly. Laying a hand on her shoulder, I turn her towards me and softly touch her cheek. Her mouth slips open with a faint gasp, but all it takes is a gentle stroke of her face for that uncertainty to be wiped away. Marina holds my gaze. My eyes relax and I step closer so I can feel the warmth of her body against mine. Then I lean in and press my lips to hers. So soft. I keep myself pressed against her, letting my lips move with the natural flow. But she doesn't press back. Afraid, I pull away, but before I can step back, she pulls me closer and lets her lips melt into mine. I let the pattern take control. Our mouths... Okay, I thought it was going to be a little more chaste. Our mouths move inside each other, full of tender cautions as we ease in. We repeat the process infinitely, bathed in the light of sunset. The two of us exchange something. I eventually pull back, unsure of what to say and scared of what I could. We turn back to find the last rays of sunlight slipping behind the sand. Something brushes against my hand, tickling for a moment before intertwining between my fingers. Her grip is loose, but I wrap my fingers around so that I'm holding her firmly. We watch the last of the light drift into a peaceful evening. Together.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Oh God, why? What have I done? Her back is turned to me like mine is to hers. I claw my nails deeper into the scratchy couch fabric and stick my gaze on the floor. Please end me now. It was silent after we did that. Nice silence, a blissful release of silence. But as we walked back, terror started to sink in. I think she felt it too. I listen to the buzz of the generator and stare at a patch of artificial light on the wall. Stupid little box is making fun of me, I swear.
So what now?
Funny. That's the same thing I asked when we found the treasure, except she sounds even more hopeless and confused than I did. Bringing my legs to my chest, I bundle my arms around them and put on a nervous smirk.
We could always go hiking again.
She throws a mock slap at my shoulder, feigning a huffy voice.
You would like that, wouldn't you?
The heavy embarrassment in the air melts away into something a little more comfortable as we both manage to laugh at my perviness. Marina lets out a whiny cry and slides against the couch.
But seriously, what are we gonna do?
About what?
About everything. The treasure, home, us.
My heart tightens like she's squeezing it.
Did you not?
No, I did. I do. I just don't know.
She turns to me, her eyes pleading, like she's looking for answers. There's no doubt I'm responsible for those eyes. Feeling a fierce sense of responsibility, I shoot up and march to the center console.
Amber?
Hold on.
I open the console, but don't bother digging around. I know exactly where these are. Two irreplaceable pieces of paper. Stopping in front of the couch, my voice darkens.
I'll be using my half of the treasure to pay for Gramps' hospital and funeral expenses. But before I do that, I still need to go to the music festival.
I offer her one of the tickets. Unsure, she gently tugs it from my hand and begins reading.
If you want to, you can go with me. Might give you a little extra time to think about things.
My voice softens.
About everything.
The festival? Me?
Up to you, babe.
I flop back on the couch and hold the ticket over my eyes to block out the light.
Oh?
Oh, crap. She peels the ticket off halfway and peeks through, revealing an amused grin.
So I'm babe now, huh?
On her hands and knees, Marina crawls ever so closer while I scramble to turn and hide my face.
Shut up. It was an accident.
And now I'm back to where I started, mortified and embarrassed.
Amber?
Her voice is like a melody.
Shut up.
Amber.
I said shut up.
Oh, Amber.
What?
A tank engine plows into my back, followed by soft, gentle arms wrapping around my neck as she rests her head against mine.
Thank you.
My shoulders relax, embracing her. In turn, I rest my head on hers too, a head sandwich.
Sure thing, kiddo.
Once we're quiet, the awkwardness sets in again, where I don't know if I should be saying something to fill the silence or if I should leave it be. Is she thinking the same thing? Is she also worried? I sneak glance after worried glance down. I sneak glance after worried glance down, but I can't see her face. Her hands wander around like she doesn't know what to do. She touches her face, then scratches her leg, picks at a fold in her shirt, pops her knuckles. So she is nervous.
Hey.
The top of her head bumps my chin as she flinches.
Hey.
You good?
Yeah.
You don't seem good.
No, I am sorry. I'm just...
Rather than hurry her along like I sometimes do, I wait for her to find the words.
just worried, I guess. I know you have, but I've never had a girlfriend before.
I start to say something, but she hurriedly cuts me off.
I don't mean it like that. Well, I do, but I've also never had a boyfriend before. Not a real one, anyway.
You had a fake boyfriend, though?
Barely. Like, in
I
middle
was
school,
wondering
there
what
was
she
this guy
meant.
who asked if I'd be his girlfriend, and I said okay. But then the next day, he said his mom told him he wasn't allowed to have a girlfriend, so we broke up.
Sounds brutal.
Right? And then junior year of high school, I kind of dated this guy for like a month, but I didn't really like him. My friends just wanted me to.
That's screwed up.
I don't know, not really. They weren't trying to be mean or anything, and he wasn't a bad person. He was just boring. Like, for our first date, we went to dinner and a movie, but dinner was just fast food and he spilled ketchup all over himself. And I don't even remember what movie we saw. He put his arm around the back of my chair, and I thought he was trying to put his arm around me, so I kind of got closer, but nope. He just kept it there. Like he was just stretching.
She giggles at the memory.
Honestly, I'd forgotten about all that until now. That's how not a real boyfriend he was. What about you?
I'm glad that right now things seem normal. Maybe if she's talking, she forgets about being worried.
Well, I've never had a boyfriend.
Marina punches me in the shoulder.
You know what I meant. I could have guessed that much.
Hey now, I'm just being clear. But yeah, I've had other girlfriends.
Isn't it bad manners to talk about this? Especially early in a relationship? She asked, though.
They counted, though it wasn't really anything serious either. By the time I was old enough for a serious relationship, I was too busy with taking care of Gramps to focus on one. But at least no one's mom ever told them they had to break up with me.
Listen, it was hard when I was 12. For like a day or two.
I'll bet. Anyway, yeah, there was this girl I was with through a chunk of high school. We broke up in junior year, I think. She wanted to focus on school. She ended up getting a full ride to a nice college, so I guess she made the right call.
Marina doesn't miss a beat.
Nah, it was her loss.
I shift to free my arm that's pressed against Marina's side and instead wrap it around her. At first I can feel her tense up, but then she gradually relaxes until most of her weight rests on me.
So, Amber?
She doesn't answer.
Mare?
Sorry, never mind.
She looks up and smiles at me, and I smile back. Maybe it's better not to think too much right now, or ask too many questions. It's just the two of us, being happy with each other, not minding that we're both sweaty and kind of gross right now, or that we haven't eaten in hours. Or so I think. It isn't long before she yawns and looks up at me apologetically.
Oops.
It's okay. I'm kind of tired too.
I'm not. I'm too excited still, but I don't want her to feel bad about going to bed. Plus, we did a lot of hiking today. I unwind my arm from around her and switch which hand holds hers so that we can stand up. She's fidgety again, shifting her weight from foot to foot. Well, I guess it'll take some getting used to, for both of us. I let go of her hand. It falls limply back to her side, like she lost control of it. Looking me in the eye, I can tell she's waiting for me to do or say something. I take a step towards her, closing the short distance between us.
Well, good night.
And then I lean in and kiss her again. Briefly, enough that she doesn't even really have time to react before I pull away. She blinks twice, then rubs her lips and smiles.
Good night.
She walks backwards away from me, still smiling. And I'm grinning like an idiot too, of course. I'm tempted, so tempted to invite her to sleep in my bed, just to be close to her still. But I don't, since she's still so nervous and unsure. I don't want to make that harder for her. I lick my lips as I go to turn off the lights, still tasting the sweetness of her on them. As I climb into bed, listening for the sounds of her breathing, I don't expect to get much sleep of my own tonight. Sleeping on it is supposed to help you with tough decisions, or with big changes, but that's hard when you can't pass out in the first place. Thoughts of Marina, and of Gramps, and of things changing, and of things staying the same, all brewed together to keep me awake just like the coffee is right now. When I got up this morning, the first thing I felt was surprise that I'd managed to fall asleep at all. The 3 hours I got must have snuck up on me. I drain another cup of coffee, number 4, and the last one from this pot. I am a little concerned she has had 4 cups of coffee so early in the morning. I dump another few scoops of grounds into the coffee maker and start a new batch. Oh my god, girl. That sounds dangerous, but okay. I got to see the sunrise, which even I usually sleep through. Out here in the middle of nowhere with no light pollution, the sky was vivid, shards of jagged pink tearing into the blue. I nearly dozed off again just watching. Maybe someday I'll get to watch it with Marina. Someday, when I wake up early again, and if she manages to get her lazy ass out of bed. Lazy but cute. Yesterday's events replay in my mind for the upteenth time, and with them come the swirl of emotions that feel like a stomachache and a high, both at once. Things finally starting to feel normal between us again. Kissing Marina at the Valley of Fire. Her leaning into it. Wondering if I should stop. Her not letting me. Sitting close on the couch, not asking any questions, not answering them either. Wondering if I should. Ugh, it's too early for this shit. The familiar ping of the coffee maker tells me that I've been zoned out for a few minutes now. Smashing my fists into my eyes, I try to rub the sleepiness out. Movement from the back of the RV means that I must have woken Marina up. I can hear the sound of her bed creaking, and of the covers being thrown back. I feel a strange, nervous elation as she appears in the hallway, looking bedraggled.
Good morning.
She groans like a zombie and stumbles toward me.
Want some coffee?
A stiff head nod. Smiling, I prepare her a cup. It's only half coffee. The other half is a boatload of sugar and the creamer that neither Gramps nor I ever drank. I don't even know why we had it, but it's not expired. When she reaches me, Marina leans into me. Sort of falls, really, crashing against my shoulder.
Hey, careful.
A bit of coffee sloshes out of the mug and onto my hand, but I don't mind. She takes the drink and a couple small sips. Minor bliss replaces her glazed expression.
Good?
Good.
There's hardly any coffee in it, you know.
Just the way I like it.
I wonder if she had a hard time falling asleep like I did, but I'm hesitant to ask. Afraid she'd say no. Afraid she'd say yes. So I just sit down, and she takes a spot next to me. We both quietly sip our coffee as she rejoins the land of the living. Once she finishes her first cup, she's alert enough for a conversation.
Sleep okay?
I
I figure that's safer than flat out asking.
Yeah, kinda.
Kinda.
I like...
She trails off. Maybe I gave her alertness too much credit.
I forgot what I was just saying.
I laugh and stand up.
Don't worry about it.
Marina mumbles something incoherent.
What was that?
She clears her throat.
Sorry, I asked if you slept alright.
Took me a while to fall asleep, but after that, yeah.
It's not strictly a lie. Eyes half closed, Marina smiles thinly.
Good.
I turn around so that she doesn't see how preoccupied I am, or guess what's on my mind. Whatever it is that I'm dealing with, it's not her problem. I don't want her to worry about me. The floor creaks as Marina stands up too, but I don't face her.
So, where are we going today?
No idea. We have a few days before the show. Anything you want to see?
Whatever it is, I'll make the trip.
We're not very far from Las Vegas, right?
Not at all. It's just a couple hours.
Let's go there!
Finally, I meet her eyes again. The smile on her face is pure and earnest. I can't help but return it.
Sure, that sounds like fun.
And she hugs me. Her warm figure is pressed close against mine. She smells like my shampoo. I wrap my arms around her and hold her close. Just for a second, everything feels right, like it's all gonna work out. And I realize how badly I want it to. I squeeze tight and then pull away.
What was that for?
Just felt like it.
Worry creases her face.
Should I not?
Nah, you definitely should. Go get dressed and I'll get us on the road. You cool with waiting to eat until we get there?
Yeah.
Cool. There are a million buffets and exotic restaurants there, so we can find something good.
I like Las Vegas already.
Dork.
I gently push her towards the back to go get ready. She sticks her tongue out over her shoulders as she goes. Watching, I rub my temple before climbing into the front seat. I'm looking forward to this, and I know Marina is too. So why does it feel like I'm doing something wrong? For a long moment, I just pressed my forehead against the steering wheel, not thinking much of anything. The sound of Marina's approaching footsteps makes me sit up, and I put on a smile as she hops into her seat, her spot.
Ready?
Yep.
Here we go then.
And we head out towards the highway. All right, this feels like a perfect place to stop, actually. We had a little fade transition, and we're pulling up right to Las Vegas. And it's been about an hour and a half. The last stream I did for Mizuchi, another visual novel I do Saturdays, I told myself, based on YouTube statistics, based on my stamina, I'm going to do 1.5 hour reads for these next few streams. And then, of course, for the Mizuchi one, as I said that, I ended like 2 hours later. But it's been about an hour and a half, if I did the math correctly. I feel like, given the time, given the transition to Nevada, this is a good spot to wrap up for today. So, let us save. I should really save more often with this game, and I keep getting really absorbed in the story, and I keep forgetting to save. But fortunately, we've been good so far. Alrighty. And we will wrap up here for today. And I will walk away and leave you with the pretty backdrop of the loading screen, which I find a nice little image to end on. So as we did this time, we'll pick up with Marina's thoughts and then go into the story next stream. But next stream, we will visit Las Vegas with them. All right, until next time.